Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Chris Lopez here, and welcome to our webinar. We're going to talk about the short-term rental market or Airbnb market here in Denver Metro. Now, last couple of years, lots of stuff has happened. The last decade, Airbnbs have been the hot thing. Great investments. Everyone's used them. Everyone's traveling them. They're becoming more and more popular. And now we've also had more coming online. We've had COVID. We've had now high interest rates. We're at high prices right now. We got new regulations coming online, and so a lot of stuff that you need to know if you're running Airbnbs or if you want to get into the Airbnb game. And so I do what I always do. I have these questions myself. I got investors asking. I always want to know what's going on in the market. So I am not the expert, but I know who the experts are. And so I get the great privilege of getting these guys from Air Simplicity over here to do a webinar with us to break down what's going on. Now, Air Simplicity is a local property management company based here in Denver. Does a lot of great short-term rental stuff. They've been a great resource to me. We've referred many clients that use them as well. I've only heard great things. So without further ado, we have the two co-founders here, Shalom, Kaiser, and Jonathan Scheiner. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon now, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
So we'll do a voice here. Shalom. Let people know your voice.
Yes. Hello.
All right. So this is Shalom.
That's me.
Jonathan.
Hello.
All right.
How's it going?
Yeah, I know you guys sound similar there. We'll get you guys worked out here.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell.
I'm excited to have you here because we had you on the podcast before. I talk you throughout all the investing cycles, and you guys are plugged in the market. You run Air Simplicity. You're Airbnb investors yourself. Give a little background on just kind of so people know why you're an expert.
Yeah. Just firstly, thank you for hosting us. We were here a couple of years ago on your podcast, and that was received well by many people in the community. So, and I think we've even gotten a client or two from that podcast.
Fantastic.
So we really appreciate that, Chris. We've been doing this for 7 going on 8 years now. We manage 70 properties in the Denver metro area, plus broader Colorado. So in the mountains, also one in Florida, by the way. And we've just been building from the ground up. We've learned all the ins and outs over the years. So Shalom,
you've paid your dues, right?
Yeah. And of that managed, we own probably about a quarter of those. So we are active investors ourselves.
Yeah.
We do some arbitrage deals too, which means that we rent them from owners and then short-term rent them. But yeah, management is our bread and butter.
Fantastic. All right. So I know as we were prepping for this, you guys put together, I think like 6 main items to talk about. What are we talking about today, Shalom?
Yeah, so we got some slides going here. Topic of discussion, regulatory climate, what to look for when purchasing an STR, high-level outlook, national and local data, deal dive, a bird's eye view of a successful deal, operational finances, so understanding your P&L and what that looks like, trends, what you need to be looking out for, and finally, tips, tricks, and best practices.
All right. So like I said, lots of great stuff, and we just take all the questions investors have about short-term rental, ask these guys to jam-pack them to 1 hour. So we're going to blow through this. However, if you guys have questions, feel free to leave comments in the chat if you're here live. If you're not, leave them in the comments or reach out to one of us. And we are going to go through a couple of spreadsheets on here. If you would like to grab a copy of those, go to the show notes and you can download them, or you can always reach out to one of us. We're happy to email them to you as well. All right, man. So talk about the regulatory climate, because I mean, this has been always so fascinating because, real estate is such a slow moving beast, but short-term rental is about probably one of the fastest moving components towards real estate. For my fears out here, it went from, wild west in Denver County to now very restrictive rules. And then the other counties are following as well. So yeah, what is going on?
Yeah. So, well, the first disclaimer I'll say is that within the regulatory climate, we're just going to be talking about Colorado. National climate, we don't know too much about, so we're going to keep it local. So the good news is that most of the regulations have already been established. Let's go through bullet point by bullet point. Is it legal? So that's the first question that we're going to ask anyone when they're looking to invest or manage a short-term rental. Is it legal? Are they allowed to do it? The second point is, just because it's not legal doesn't mean people aren't doing it.
That is so true.
As you'll see, and we've seen, if you go on Airbnb and you look around, you look at areas where they're illegal, you're going to see listings. Now, that's a high risk, high reward situation. It's pretty risky to go invest. You might buy a house for $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, spend a couple months, $20,000-$30,000 buying furniture and setting it up and then get shut down, that's going to prevent many people from investing. But if you can get away with it, oftentimes there's not a lot of supply and you can charge a high amount and it would be quite profitable.
Yeah, and just to add something there, so some municipalities such as Denver County have gotten very sophisticated in where if you don't have a valid short-term rental license number, they literally take down the listing from the back end. So you can't even list it in Denver without a proper and valid license number.
They take it down on the back end like through Airbnb?
Yeah, Airbnb and Denver are working together.
Oh, okay.
And so you can't even list illegally in some places. We can speak for Denver for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised to hear that. Like I was wondering, like it's not.
Yeah.
All the data is out there publicly on there, so they've gotten that sophisticated now.
Yeah.
Is that the same for Verbo? Are they kind of doing that as well?
It is. It is the same with Verbo. But it requires an agreement between Airbnb and the municipality. So Denver and Airbnb jockeyed for a while to finally come to an agreement. I think it took multiple years.
Yeah.
So.
But you'll only see that in the big cities.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that in Arvada.
Douglas County.
So the next one, tapering of regulations. So most counties and municipalities have established regulations. So that's nice from an investor perspective. If you are looking to buy a home, most of the places that you're looking have some type of regulations in place already, because it could be quite risky to go buy a house and then a month later they prohibit it. That would be a bad situation. So there are a couple of counties that are figuring out what to do, like Douglas County, like you mentioned, Lake County. So oftentimes they'll put a moratorium. They'll just say, hey, for the next 12 months, no more short-term rentals. We're going to figure out what to do.
What's Douglas County doing right now, or thinking of doing?
They're allowing, I think, one. It's pretty open, I think. But I don't know.
They primary or.
I don't think it has to be your primary. They haven't listed anything yet on their website. So this is just from talks that we've heard through the grapevine.
It's probably like chatter in the pipeline that
in the pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I was just curious. And because I know Denver, like, let me ask you about this because, like, you know, I think it was 4 years ago, Denver changed their rules to where, hey, you could have any Airbnbs to where it's basically a primary. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you guys knew quite a few investors. They had a dozen Airbnbs going around that were great cash cows. And all of a sudden it was just basically shut off overnight. How important is to have like a plan B when running your numbers for like regulatory change like that? Is there any way to like quantify that, or like how would you mitigate that risk, or is that risk not a big deal anymore?
Yeah, I would say it is important. And the way I view it is, if it can't operate as a short-term rental, you want to look into midterm rental. So midterm rental is between a short-term rental and a long-term rental, typically for 30 days. So when there are prohibitions from short-term rentals, they're 30-day plus. So if pretty much anyone allows 30-day plus. So, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. And then a long-term rental. I mean, if the numbers can work even as a long-term rental, you'd be pretty safe. But I mean, in today's market, that's a little tough.
That's tough. That's why people want a short-term rental for some cash flow.
Yeah.
And we can speak from personal experience. One of our units just is getting shut down soon. So we're like, okay, do we do a midterm 30-day plus? You don't need a license at all for that. Or do we sell it? Do we just do long-term? So we're in that situation.
Have you figured it out yet, or is that in process right now?
We're thinking about doing midterm for now, but we're also thinking about selling it too.
Yeah. We're thinking about doing a 1031 into 2 mountain short-term rentals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, just with the high rates, it's hard.
Oh yeah.
We'll get into that.
And I know we got some questions here about supply being saturated. We'll cover that in a few minutes.
We will.
Yeah. We'll get into that. So within the regulations, some of the regulations criteria may include safety inspections. So the governing body may want to do an inspection just to make sure everything is safe and running well. Primary residence, most people are probably familiar with the Denver primary residence rules. Oftentimes the term primary residence is vaguely defined. Even according to Denver, at the very least, it means you can't have another one. But you can travel for 5 years and it can still be your primary residence. So
yeah, and Denver's definition is usual place of return.
Right.
And I think they define that as 183 days, half a year of actual living in the home.
But we have people who don't live in it at all, and they make out okay. So
some.
Yeah. License cap. So this could be a certain amount of licenses that are given out, which could be based on density. So I believe it's Gilpin County, for example, that has 4.5% of the total inventory of homes in the county they'll allow to be short-term rentals. And if it's full, then there's a wait list or an absolute amount. So just let's say there's 250 available licenses. Hefty fees are lengthy approval processes. So we'll see that especially in Jefferson County is the one good example that comes up. For some of our clients, it's taken a couple $1,000s and a few months to get a license, which is not even guaranteed. And you have to come before a hearing who decides whether the license is granted or not. So it's a little,
Wow.
it's a little risky.
Yeah. So after you purchase a property and after you start the process, you may find out if you can short-term rental it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would assume that most would get accepted unless they had a good basis on which to reject you. But hey, like it's a double-edged sword because it's preventing competitors. So, limited amount of nightly occupancy. So a good example here would be Arvada, which only allows for 240 nights of the year to be occupied. This isn't too common. We don't see too much of that. Limited amount of occupants. So how many people can be in the house during the rentals? Oftentimes this is more common in the mountain properties, which is often a maximum amount of people allowed. How many people the septic system can hold, essentially.
That's a very practical thing.
It is. Additional taxes. So they want their cut. The counties and municipalities want their cut, which could be anywhere from a few percentage points up to like 10, 11%. Denver, last time I checked, was 10.75. Counties versus municipalities. So some people might be wondering how this works, because you can have municipalities within counties that have their own set of regulations. Now, from what we've experienced, if the municipalities have their own rules, then typically the county is going to let that go and let them dictate their own rules. A really good example of this is Wheat Ridge in Jefferson County. So Jefferson County allows for short-term rentals they have to have at least an acre or more in size, which obviously is not applicable to most homes in Wheat Ridge. And Wheat Ridge has their own laws and processes, so they don't really interfere. So I would check first the municipal laws and then the county laws, unless it's an unincorporated, in which case you certainly have to look at the county laws. HOAs are not typically short-term rental friendly in metro areas, but friendly in vacation hotspots. So that's
like up in the mountains. That's
exactly, mountains, beach towns,
Orlando.
Yeah. But in Denver metro, if there's an HOA, the chances of them allowing short-term rentals are slim.
Yeah. I've only heard of a couple over all the years that allow.
Mm-hmm.
Active versus passive enforcement. So most, like a place like Denver is, they are actively enforcing it. As John mentioned before, they're out. They have sophisticated software looking for people who are doing this. If you are operating legally, they are going to send you a notice and then fine you. If you are operating legally, the best piece of advice that I would give is keep your neighbors happy, because that's how they find out, or through complaints. So
it's a good rule of thumb in any type of real estate investing.
100%.
Keep neighbors happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
We actually we have letters, templates that we give out to the neighbors of all our short-term rentals, that an explanation of who we are. Here's a discount code. Here's a Starbucks gift card. And hey, here's our number. Call us. If there's a problem, call us. Don't call the county, and we'll deal with it.
I've actually heard, I mean, that's a great idea for my short-term rental. I've had a friend that like fix and flip. They kind of do all that where it's like, I'm going to be proactive. And that way, if there is an issue, whether, hey, a short-term renter occupant or an issue with a dumpster on a flip, like, hey, let you guys, the owner, the operator, the manager, get the call first so it can be taken care of, avoid, other incorrect people getting called and causing a lot more drama. Or, hey, I can call you and get it handled quickly. And you're like, oh, hey, thanks for telling me. It's really good to know that my contractor did that. Thank you. I'll take care of that this afternoon.
Exactly.
So it's so smart idea to go out there and be proactive.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we're going to talk now about.
Before we jump into the
go
national trends,
Sure.
I got one question for you guys here locally. So, where is because we got Denver metro, five counties, immediate, and Denver County, Denver City has very restrictive short-term rental laws. What's the best place for people to get a handle on what municipality, what county allows what? Or because I know high level, but again, I know there's always like, oh, Douglas County is saying this. Last year Lakewood was saying this. Like, there's always chatter and always stuff in the pipeline, or it seems like there's always stuff in the pipeline.
Are you asking where should people find information, like information, like current information, or?
Yeah, I'm saying someone's going to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and invest in
Yeah.
an Airbnb, and like, I mean, the going back that slide, like it is, it's many more layers of due diligence, and I would say a long-term rental or a primary residence is for that stuff. Like, where do people start? Or is it say know the high level and talk to the experts like you guys and our agents that know this stuff?
This has always been a thorn in my side for the both of us, really. And I've spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. So there are a couple of resources out there, but what I've found is they're not up to date and they're not even accurate. So I don't use them anymore. I've compiled my own sheet of the last few months. Yeah. Of what, and then it's going through the websites and often calling the counties and seeing what the rules are and how, because it's moving. It's a dynamic process. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to help anyone if they want to reach out, but there's not a great resource that I'd recommend.
Cool. Yeah, we keep stuff internally that we, we're like, oh, should we share with clients? Should we not? We generally share, but like, hey, this is the best we know. Always go double check with the municipality or county because, and it's the investor's responsibility, but here's the best we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And just to reiterate it one more time, like we started this presentation with one question: is it legal? It is the most important due diligence question one can ask in this business, and it's like just number one before you look at the properties, anything.
That is a great thing to come back to from your high level. Very simple one. Awesome. Thank you guys. All right. So national trends data, like I think it was Diana said earlier, heard that she said supply is becoming a bit saturated, market's getting a little soft. Like, I've seen some headlines. What is going on with the Airbnb market?
Some of you may have heard of the term Airbnb bust.
That's actually not. That's good though.
It's out there in the headlines, and we want to dive into some of the national data and local data. And let me just grab this keyboard.
Here you go.
Cool. The data that we're pulling from is AirDNA, and for those of you who don't know, AirDNA is, I would say, the prominent software company in the short-term rental world, and there aren't too many data sources, so that's where we're pulling from. Yeah,
they're the largest Airbnb Vrbo data aggregator for sure. So we're going to dive into national STR performance metrics. This was released in April 23, and year over year, available listings nationally has gone up to 1.43 million, up 18.9 or just 19% year over year. So supply has increased significantly. But at the same time, demand has risen only to 12.6%, meaning it's lagging supply. Occupancy, in turn, also is lower. So there's more people booking. The demand has increased, but it's spread out amongst more listings. It's only gone, and occupancy has gone down 5% year over year. ADRs, they're almost the same.
What is ADR?
Average daily rates. So the nightly rate you charge the guest is 1.4%, which is a pretty flat number. The picture that's being painted right now is that, there's more supply. There is more demand, not as much as supply. And okay, so what does that mean for everyone? So,
and just a note on the increase in ADR, what was it?
1.4%.
I don't think that's taken inflation into consideration. So really, it's decreasing.
Yeah. So, I mean, all this backs up with, I always look at, I think, supply and demand. If I could ever know like one data point, it'd be supply and demand. And this goes back to classic, hey, supply is increasing faster than demand. So therefore, occupancy, rates, rents, it all starts softening.
Yeah.
And that's what, that's pointing towards, it looks like.
Right.
Exactly.
And just to show you another nice graphic from AirDNA, the blue is supply, orange is demand. And this is broken out into different city areas, mid-sized cities, rural, large cities, suburban, large cities, urban, the entire United States. In every category, supply has outpaced demand. In some areas, it's outpaced it way more. In small cities, mid-sized cities such as Denver, supply has significantly outpaced demand by almost 10% or a little bit more than 10%. So the story here is that there's more supply, therefore more supply than demand, and there's some softening in the market as we've stated, and Shalom's going to talk about travel
So
here.
the other big important piece of information here is the traveler. So as you can see from this graph, almost 50% of consumers surveyed say that high travel prices have kept them from traveling in the last month, and we're seeing that too. Anecdotally, people are tightening their wallets, and when they are traveling, they might not splurge. They might not get a place that's nice. They might get something smaller. They're going to be doing more shopping within Airbnb and also across platform. They're going to compare Airbnb to Vrbo. They may even try to book direct. And we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, so it's kind of being hit on both ends, the host and the guest.
Yeah. And to add one more part of this is, the supply has gone up almost 20%. A lot of this is from the arbitrage model. People will rent a property and then they'll Airbnb it with the landlord's approval most of the time. That's a lot of the increase of supply as well. Everyone thinks they can.
Oh, really? So a lot of it's the arbitrage.
Yeah.
Oh, and so they actually break out that data?
They didn't break that out, but I just looking at social media, knowing people in the industry, it's happening a lot.
I never even thought that makes sense. I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Lead times don't necessarily play into the supply and demand conversation, but it's important to note the difference. So between 2017 and 2020, pre-COVID, the lead time, which is the from when the guest books their reservation to when their reservation occurs, is 39 days. In February 2023, that went down to 24 days. So people are booking a lot closer to their stay, to their vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just in terms of metrics, that's a almost 50% reduction in time. Like that's a huge change.
Yeah.
We're managing 70 units. So, we're looking at our calendar right now in August, and it's a lot of the houses aren't booked, but we're like, wait a minute, just wait, take a step back. It's okay. Like people are going to book. It's closer.
2.5 weeks longer now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For the
less. So they'll book closer to the date. So,
for the last like 6 to 8 months, every month I'd call John, hey, we're screwed. Like look at next month. There's no bookings. And then they'd come in and we'd be okay.
Interesting.
But it just takes some more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and that was since COVID, you've seen the lead time decrease.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also interestingly, cancellation policies have also become more lax. And Airbnb encourages people to, they actually boost listings that have more lax cancellation policies.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, local data. So let's look at Air Simplicity's numbers. So we can just read off the slide here and they're pretty self-explanatory. We're projecting a decrease in overall revenues between 14 and 19% year over year, 2023 to 2022. That is comprised of both occupancy and ADR. So that's a 9.8% drop in overall occupancy and a 12.9% drop in ADR, in average daily rate. And for those of you looking at the slides, you can see the graph there and you can see the seasonality of that as well.
So overall, they're saying here local, that like Denver Metro or Colorado?
Colorado.
Okay, so in Colorado, a 14 to 19% overall drop in just revenue.
And that's our data from our company.
Okay.
So we're giving our actual numbers.
Sorry, you're simplistic. Okay, I got you. I just saw air and okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay.
Yeah. So those are real numbers. Those are the properties we're actually managing. It's not from some aggregator. This is actually real.
Oh, this is the best data then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you'll notice that light green line, if you look at the chart there, it says 390 in probably in March 2022 is the light line. The lighter green and the darker blue is this year. So you see that's where we got that 12.9 reduction in average daily rate. This year at the same time, we're not getting as much money per night now as we did last year.
And that's, you said on average like 390 down to 340?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a 13% drop. So if we could open up that spreadsheet, that'd be awesome.
Now that we've talked about all the doom and gloom, let's look into a deal that works.
Is it
this actually,
Jonathan's spreadsheet?
It's this one. This one's good. We're actually still in doom and gloom, actually.
Okay. All right.
That's okay.
Let's stay there a little bit longer.
I'm going to zoom in on here. So give us a second, everyone listening and watching. We're switching over to, we got 2 spreadsheets to go through because this is the best stuff in the world. Let's talk about what's actually going on. So we will talk through this. You guys know if you're listening, watch the YouTube video or just come to the notes and you can download these spreadsheets.
Yeah. So in this spreadsheet, you're going to see two profit and loss statements side by side. The one on the left is a P&L for May 1st, 21 to May 1st, 22. The one on the right is May 1st, 22 to May 1st, 23. This is the exact same property. We have a lot of data on this property, but we've been managing it for a while. It's a desirable 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Jefferson Park, Denver.
I just want to interrupt and say that this P&L is exactly what our P&Ls look like what we give to ourselves and our clients. So it's the same breakdown.
I like this.
Yeah, this is what our clients see. This is what we see every month when we look at our properties information. And on the left hand, the 2 years ago data, you'll see rental income and cancellation fees. This encompasses all the income that came in minus cleaning fees, not including cleaning fees. We had a total of $87,000 in income about starting a year and a half, or not a year and a half ago, but May 21 to May 22. Same time frame a year later, we went down to 71,000. So that's a minus 18%. It's an 18% decrease in income just without cleaning fees. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, our net income for this property after everything, this person made $66,000. That's how much money we sent them 2 years ago. And then this past year, we sent them $51,000, meaning we collected all this money after paying all the expenses. This person made 23.5% less in net income on a really cool house in Denver, well furnished, well reviewed, well managed. It still had a pretty significant drop. Just painting the picture that there is a dampening of demand, maybe oversupply, maybe macroeconomic issues affecting affecting properties. So to jump back to the slide deck.
Actually, one question here. So you said this is, Jefferson Park, good property. This is like a prime property to Airbnb, not like the lower 10% of the portfolio. But
this is nice. Okay. Top 20%, maybe top
20.
Top.
It's not luxury. I mean, the great location, but
this is a solid performer. Top tier of the Airbnb listings. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was the context I wanted.
Definitely.
And then I just wanted to one more thing I want to look at. So all these expenses here, and you guys can download it. I mean, all the cleaning fees, management fees, repairs, maintenance. So it's basically everything other than probably the mortgage debt.
And utilities
that the owner has.
Insurance.
Correct. Okay, so the owner is getting $51,000 and change.
Minus.
They're paying their mortgage, paying some utilities.
And the one thing that this probably wouldn't include, maybe it does sometimes, are significant renovations. If there's a roof repair, that's not going to be on here.
Yeah, well, that's just like the standard CapEx stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, you said go back to the slides, Jonathan?
Yes, that'd be great.
All right, this slide or?
Yeah, that's perfect. And then there's, I think, 2 more bullet points on this one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So future projections. So what? Poor performance is what that's supposed to say. So the 2 data points that we can't really see here, and that we don't have data for, is interest rates lowering supply. So certainly the amount of people buying short-term rentals or buying properties in general has been decreasing. And we're not going to see that. I think we're seeing that in real time to some degree, but I think the supply is certainly taking a hit. So hopefully that'll make the current supply out there a little bit better. And per performers, so let's just say the bottom 10 or 15% of the market, I don't think they're going to make it through. Like if a house is poorly designed, poorly managed, it would be more sensible to operate that as a typical rental. And I think we're going to have a big market exit. I don't think that's going to happen now going into the summer, more likely during the slower season. So winter or after winter.
Because that was one of the things as we were prepping for this, you guys sure things about the bottom 10% is really getting hit hard.
Yeah.
So you're talking like on this other property here, a top 20% property took, a 15, 18% hit. Bottom 10% properties, I'm assuming will be a greater hit because usually the extreme is like, do you have any type of idea like how bad that punch is? Or if you don't want to look at your crystal ball, I don't blame you.
I would say just from looking at some of the Arvada properties and maybe some of the Westminster properties, it's probably closer to a 40% hit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay,
maybe
so
more.
Really significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just off the top of my head.
But those are like the worst performers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's how it is. It's like there's always like in business investing, it's like that's if you have sometimes you can get away with you can get away with in current market conditions like how you've been the last couple of years. Up until interest rates rise, you could list anything and have multiple offers on there.
Right.
Mhm.
But now the market has changed, so you have
Yeah.
to change that. So, and that's all part of it. All right,
Yeah,
so
exactly. So the
Yeah.
deal dive is the next slide here.
Right. So we've been talking about a lot of doom and gloom the last 20, 30 minutes, whatever it's been. And that's not the full story. We, Shalom and I, and another investor purchased a property in Adams County in the Regis area recently in September 21. And we worked really hard to renovate it well. We furnished it beautifully, we think. Well, the guests think we furnished it beautifully based
That's
off
what's
the
important.
reviews.
Yeah.
And it is still possible to not make a killing right now, but to do pretty well. So
Yeah.
we're going to dive in. And the property on the screen, you'll see.
because these are just
Yeah.
photos up here. And
That's one property.
So
This is
this-
what you finished or you remodel and you furnished.
Yeah.
Correct.
We don't have the before photos here. It's not
It doesn't
super
matter.
relevant.
It's
but it
just
was-
it's a
it was
gorgeous
bad.
property
And this
Yeah.
is another property right next door to it, actually.
because it's a house.
It's a house
It's-
with an ADU. It's
yeah,
a
okay.
duplex. You can call
It's a
it.
duplex,
Yeah.
detached.
Yeah.
So one of the, so you want to maybe open the pro
Spreadsheet?
forma? Yeah.
Yeah, so now we're switching over to another spreadsheet again. We will talk these numbers. Oops. But if you guys need a copy of this, go to the show notes or just reach out to us. So once I get this squared out. Okay. So,
Great. So this property was purchased in, I think it was September of last year, in North Denver in the Regis area. So like we mentioned before, is a duplex, detached duplex, one unit. They're about between 1,100 and 1,700 square feet. One was a 3-1, the other was a 2-2. For the sake of this pro forma, we just added the bedrooms together and the bathrooms, just to keep things simple. So yeah, five bedrooms total, 3 bathrooms total square feet of 2,590. It's almost 2,600 square feet. Let's look at the purchase price for a second. So we bought this place for $475,000. We put about $125,000 into renovations. The furniture / setup cost was about $25,000 and about $5,000 of closing costs. So our total cash outlay is about $274,000.
and so about 150 is renovation and Airbnb setup cost. 120,
With furniture.
130 for down payment.
Yeah.
So so just over $250,000 all in cost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll note here our interest rate was 5.75 and we put in 25% down.
Okay.
So added together, the ADR, the average daily rate of these two units is about $382, and with the occupancy rate of 83%. That's high. Typically, it's occupancy rates are going to be a little bit lower. It's high because they're small units, and with small units, it's easier to maintain a higher occupancy rate.
Okay.
So gross annual revenue here is $115,000. Moving down,
So this is here on this annual. So 115, and that's just top of the line, right?
top line.
Yeah.
Is that
Including
cleaning
every-
expenses?
Yep.
Or I'm sorry,
Cleaning
cleaning
fees.
income?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cleaning fees from Airbnb? Okay.
Exactly. Yep. Moving down into the expenses, the two biggest expenses are cleaning fees and property management. So here we have 14% cleaning fees, so $16,000. Property management of 22%. That's what we're charging, of $25,000 roughly. Real estate taxes of about 0.03%, $1,700. Utilities per square foot, and this is going to vary. Some of these numbers are going to vary depending on where the property is, the size of the property. But we have utilities at 10%.
Is that your general thing about 10% of square footage for utilities?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then in the mountains, it's going to be higher than
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Way more.
So total $3,100 for utilities. The consumables per bedroom, which is pretty consistent across the board, of $30 per bedroom per month. So $1,800 annual. And then maintenance we have at 0.8% for $3,800 total. And then insurance we have $2,600. So
Okay.
altogether we have expenses totaling $52,000.
All right. So 115 top line revenue, about 52,000 expenses other than mortgage.
Yep.
Yeah, because you have insurance and taxes on
And
here.
we'll touch on that now. So net operating income of almost $64,000 before any debt service. Our monthly payment, our loan payments annually are about $25,000. So 63, our net operating income of $64,000 minus our loan payments of $25,000 leaves us with a net cash flow of almost $39,000.
Wow.
So
$3,000 a month.
Yeah,
on average.
Yeah, not too bad. And then the metrics, let's go to the right for a second and we can see the cash on cash and cap rate.
You scroll up a little bit.
Yeah. So the cash on,
I think that.
Hold on, I just messed something up.
There we go.
Yeah, cash on cash is 14.14%. Not too bad, with a cap rate of 13.40%. So yeah, a pretty good deal. These aren't very easy to find. I don't think you're going to find one a month, but they're out there.
Yeah.
I think another takeaway from this deal is we also put in a lot of work ourselves to make this deal make sense. We got it in like horrible shape, and we had to make it pretty awesome for it to make these kind of numbers make sense. So,
well, you guys know, so my ADU like 13 blocks north of your house, right?
Yeah.
Don't you want another one up there?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a little farther from Regis. But.
Yeah. I don't have the patience for Airbnb. I mix well with that.
Yeah,
that's fair.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of humans, a lot of people involved.
Yes,
that's why we have a management company.
I know. That's no, I think it's amazing. I love these numbers. Like it's just you don't see these numbers, these cash flow anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are pretty good. And I think finding a place that needed so much work, like one of the units of the duplex was pretty much down to the studs, and we had to come in there and put in bathrooms, floor, pretty much everything.
Full electrical.
Oh, okay.
We totally did. We did the electrical, plumbing.
Yeah. And I think that's where you're going to find deals, is where if you're going to put in some work.
Yeah. An important thing to note also, we'll touch on this later, is that we really tried to find furnishings that matched like that mid-mod bohemian boho style. We paid someone, Shelby, shout out to her, who she went around and bought things secondhand and bought like really beautiful teak bed frames and cool lamps and artwork. And this is not IKEA. This is not Amazon furniture. And the guests know, and they that's why they're booking it. That's why there's great reviews. So,
and they know that through the Airbnb listing?
We definitely describe it when they get there. They're also pleasantly surprised as well. Just like, wow, this is a real leather sofa. This is really nice. All the reviews speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to like, setting up properties like this, like what, I always get questions like this on client, like, hey, they want to do something like this. Like, obviously you guys are an investor. You also run the property management company. What type of services as a PM would you be able to help with a client? I mean, are you going to manage a remodel? Do you help with furnishing setup? Like kind of someone says, hey, I want to do this. Where can they expect to lean on you guys for your expertise?
So we typically don't like to do renovations on the front end.
Yeah.
Anything from helping
that's not
find.
Surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a little.
You almost couldn't pay us enough, honestly. Yeah. Not totally, but almost.
All right. Well,
give you guys some equity, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
We do help our current clients with renovations sometimes. But,
yeah.
We have to too. If something goes wrong, if there's a flood in the house, we're going to help them find.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
people,
different though than saying, hey, we're buying this distressed property. We got to do full remodel. Hey, take care of it for me and find a GC and do it all.
Right.
So, yeah, from helping find the property to helping set it up, we want to be a consultant there to help lead you through to make the right decisions, because we've seen way too many examples of people buying nice homes and then going and setting it up with the crappiest furniture.
Going to Goodwill.
Going to Goodwill. And like, you really just spend $5,000-$10,000 more and you will make $15,000 more every year. But some people just want the cheapest option.
Yeah.
They'll pay for $1 million home in cash and then go to Goodwill and get the furniture there. It's interesting.
It's interesting some of the how real estate investors' minds work, right? I mean, I'm guilty of that charge. I got my things. I'm very cheap on this. And people are like, why?
I could be too.
Because.
Yeah, I could be too.
Yeah. In terms of the doing renovations like this, one of the things that I always tell clients to do is that, hey, if you want to, do this as a long-term rentals. That's that's a lot of the properties we do, and a lot of clients they're in that bread and butter phase. But like even looking at a short-term rental, like they should be talking to you guys and helping have you like figure out what needs to happen before you close on the property.
Yes.
Ideally, like this is a lesson I've learned. I always try to impart on my clients is like the sooner you loop in your property manager, whether it's a long-term or an Airbnb property manager, the better, because they have thousands or 10,000 hours of experience now and help give you a high level. Then once you're under contract, really have the property manager come over in that like early due diligence phase where you can still terminate for inspection items. Have them come like walk the prep, have them do real underwriting to make sure that like whatever you think actually matches up with their reality and their expertise.
100%.
Yeah.
We can't stress this enough.
Yeah.
We've done that many times. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyone out there, please, again, whether you work with them or anyone, that's just a huge rule I've learned over the years is like, talk to your property manager sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Get it right
Assumptions
from the
cost you
get-go.
money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Back to the slides?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so that was just what we just did. Right?
Yeah. Do you want to go?
Yeah, we can jump into that presentation right there. So we were just thinking about this is if I was a person jumping into a short-term rental deal, what would I want to know? And one of the things I wish I was told maybe is view each property or your first property as its own little business. And I'll go through a P&L in a moment, and I'm going to use an example that I purchased with my brother in September 2021. And you can see on the screen, if Chris, maybe you could slide over and show the pictures. This is a house in Adams County, and it's North Denver. And you can see we put some effort into making the backyard pretty cool. We put a fire pit in there. Furnishings are nice. The guests love it. We have a game area. We have, you can see the kitchen's beautiful, renovated. And yeah, so firstly, the first thing I'm just saying here is, the key is to make the house pop, make it look awesome, that people actually want to book it. And if you could slide over to the spreadsheet side.
Yeah.
So this house was purchased in September 21 for $494,000, and we put in about $50,000 in renovations and furniture, mostly furniture. The house was pretty much turnkey, luckily. And for 2022, last year, this is from January 1st to December 31st, 22, the house top line revenue, $116,000, and $15,000 of that were cleaning fees. So $100,000 in rental income just from the nightly rate, the ADR, as we mentioned before. And when I say view this as a business, you'll see in our expense column here, we're tracking cleaning, the consumables and supplies, deep cleans meaning cleans separate from the actual regular,
not just the routine stuff,
not just the turnovers, correct. And we're tracking snow removal, lawn care, management fees, the mortgage payment, separating out taxes and insurance. And you'll notice we actually had some pretty serious maintenance expenses over that year. But there was some major hiding of plumbing issues from the previous person we bought it from. The dishwasher broke immediately. The washing machine broke. HVAC had a $2,000
Did
thing.
it break or did it break and flood?
It actually just no flood.
Oh,
No flood.
great.
There are other floods.
We had many other floods, other properties. But again, we're tracking the trash service, $800 a year, the energy usage, gas and electric, internet, water. And the reason why I'm going through all these line items is because let's just use an example of internet. I had a property that its internet expense was $500 for 2 years. And then the next year it was $800, then $1,000. And we're like, wait a minute. So glad we're tracking this very meticulously, because we can then call Xfinity and say, hey, we're switching over to a new company. If you don't, lower our rate, they lowered the rate back. So to be very detailed in tracking expenses helps you manage. You can cut down your operational expenses by a couple $1,000s a year just because you're tracking it like a business. And to speak more on the story of you actually can make money in the slower economy. After all these expenses of $80,000 expenses, we still had a net income of $3,600, which is $3,800 a month.
36,000.
36,000
a year,
yeah.
not 30, you said 36. No, 36,000 for the year.
For the year, and 3,800 per month. And even if we have a 50% drop, a really worst case scenario, we would still be making, $1,700 a month on this property, which is excellent. We couldn't make that as a long-term rental. There's no way. So yes, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, but if you have a really cool property and you market it well, you take great photographs, you could actually still do well in this down market.
Yeah. No, this is great because this is what $500,000 purchase price, and this was not the most amazing deal and not the most amazing rehab, right? Like this is
It was pretty good. We'll say what was the best part about this deal was the interest rate. And we got this at like the lowest point. So to buy this now would be tough. But if you have a property, you know, in your portfolio.
Well, even if you buy it now, you got $36,000 worth of cash flow. That's going to help offset a lot of the higher interest rate. Well, do you make so much cash flow today? No, but you should still be cash flow positive while you're still owning $500,000 asset that's appreciating and give you some tax benefits and your Airbnb guests are paying down your principal.
Correct.
Like this is what I mean, again, I don't do Airbnb personally as an investor, but I just love it. It's just like the cash flow, like, geez, like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. And we do, we'll talk more about amenities later in the presentation, but that does matter with this example.
All right. So
let me go through the industry trends, what you need to be looking out for, just some things that we're seeing in the industry. Cleaning fees. Most people have probably seen this, but people are upset with high cleaning fees. You're going to see that a lot coming up in social media where people are posting about high cleaning guests, especially high cleaning fees that they experience that they're upset about. Oftentimes,
then I have to take out the trash. I have to strip the bed and start the washing machine while I'm paying $200 cleaning fee.
Exactly. Yeah. So people are upset about that.
I mean, that one.
Clean the gutters. So my recommendation would be you still want a cleaning fee, but look at what your comps are charging and have it in a reasonable range. Direct bookings. So this is something that's more common with professional management companies. If you have one or two properties, it's not going to be worth it because you do have to set up a system for that. You need a channel manager and like a property management software. But we're seeing a lot of bookings go off of the typical OTAs, which is the online travel agencies such as Airbnb and Vrbo, and book directly with the hosts.
You're talking about like through their website,
through
a different portal.
Yeah, and we try to capture a lot of return guests. We give them information and say, hey, next time you want to book with us direct. And there's about a 15% revenue markup that these guys are charging that we can take. We spread that across us, the owner, and the guests will pay less as well.
So everyone saves.
Yep,
wins a little bit, right?
Everyone wins. Yep. Longer stays. So this has been a trend that we've seen since.
So sort of back up on that. Sounds like your strategy is your main people coming through Airbnb and Vrbo, and then kind of like on the repeat and referral, you're hoping to get more direct bookings through, hey, here's email, or hey, here's, hey, thanks for booking. Here's next time. You book directly through us. So you're okay. And are you seeing more people as a repeat referral? Like, are you seeing an uptick, or is it too hard to track?
Very slowly. I mean, we only started focusing on this over the last few months. So we don't have. Yeah. Okay. The other really interesting marketing strategy that we've employed is using a software called StayFi. And a StayFi is an access point that you plug into your router. And when a guest tries to log into the Wi-Fi, there's no password, but they do have to go through this portal, and the portal will ask for their information. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen this in hotels or airports.
Like when you capture their personal details,
exactly,
and add your email list, or whatever.
Yeah, and this way we get emails from everyone in the house, most likely, and then we can market to people. And I mean, they have the option to opt out, but this is a way to get.
Great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we set this up in 20 of the most occupied homes that we have.
Oh, I love that idea.
So, yeah, it's pretty neat. Longer stays. So we're seeing trend in 30+ stays. So that's oftentimes the nurses, some corporate leases, and that's just becoming more common. Airbnb has even halved the amount of commission that they charge from about 15% to 8% to help encourage both hosts and guests to book longer stays. And lastly, we have unique stays, which are unique properties like a yurt or a tree house. If someone wants to go build a tree house, they will probably do pretty well.
Do you guys have any like unique stays in your portfolio?
Not
an Airstream.
We have an Airstream, which is kind of cool.
An Airstream parked in someone's driveway.
Yep.
It's in the backyard of another property.
Yeah. But nothing so wild.
How does that perform generally?
We've only had it for a year.
Yeah.
It's also hasn't been operating through the winter.
Okay.
we can get back to you on it. It's not, we don't have so much data on it yet.
I'm just curious. That's one of those things like you see out there.
Yeah.
And Airstreams are often, they're popular out there on Pinterest and social media.
I think part of the issue is that the Airstream is not in a really cool place.
Exactly.
It's in like North Denver somewhere. So
Yeah.
it's like if you put that on a mountainside or somewhere really cool.
Not my backyard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unique stay really goes hand in hand with the location. Like you don't have unique stays are typically in cool places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a house in Bailey that has a really awesome putting green on the property with a beautiful view in the background. So that's it's unique that I haven't seen many properties with that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
and this is applicable to unique amenities too. Like
Yeah.
if you have interesting amenities, I think it's going to help improve bookings. And then here's just a little graph for those of you who can see it, just to see the post-pandemic demand growth strongest among unique stays. So you can see that unique
Is
stays.
that top dark line?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they've
the-
had the most growth.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then
Demand growth.
demand growth.
Mm-hmm.
and
And then what? House and
the-
villas and apartments and condos are about the second most. They're about the same.
and
And a
the bed
villa
and-
is just that's still a house, right?
essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the B&B, the bed and breakfast have
Like
are
more
the
traditional
lowest.
bed and breakfast.
I think that's what it means.
Wow.
What does
they-
that actually mean? Yeah.
I mean, so they actually see negative growth then on the
Mhm.
bed and breakfast side.
Yep.
I mean, wow. Okay, that's really interesting.
And that's post-pandemic. So I mean, I would assume that they got hit pretty hard during COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Moving on
yeah, moving
to the
on
next
towards
one, the last one.
yeah.
We've got tips, tricks, and best practices.
Yeah. So recently I purchased a house in Centennial, and it's a 1964 multi-level house. The bones of the home are good though. So, but it's not the coolest house, but the bones are good. And I personally think it could be made into a pretty awesome short-term rental. And we're in the last part of this presentation, which is how can you, I mean, it's kind of in line with what we've already been saying, but how can you make your short-term rental succeed pretty well in this market? And one, if the bones of your home are good, good structure, no foundation problems, good plumbing, can it be renovated to be made really awesome? Shalom, can you get the next one? Thank you. And once you do renovate it, are you professionally renovating it? Are you going to photograph it professionally? If you're someone on Airbnb or Vrbo and you see 100 listings, how do you grab that person's attention and make them say, not only is that house more expensive, but I want to stay there and get in that top 10%. So obviously really putting the effort into making the place unique, beautiful, really is very helpful. And again, with this idea of running your short-term rental as a business, every business, if you call up a restaurant nearby your house and they're not answering, like you're not going to really want to go to that. You want to get your Chinese food, they don't answer. Like, well, I'm going to go to a different Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Same thing. If your guests are trying to reach out to you and you're not getting back to them, all the questions that they have, how do I get there? What's the Wi-Fi? How do I use the washing machine? If these questions are not answered, it's going to annoy people. Your ratings will go down. The optimization of your listing on Airbnb and Vrbo will go down. So it's really a matter of keeping up with your guests, your customers. At Air Simplicity, we do biannual seasonal maintenance. This is super important if you're running a short-term rental. Get in the house. Are there scuffs all over the walls? Is the furniture loose? Are some of the light bulbs burned out? These are questions and things that need to be addressed when you're managing a short-term rental. And, just regard to seasonal maintenance. And it's so important. Like, are there weeds all around the house? Like, just the things that are very easy to miss, really require that hands-on attention. And,
The sophisticated pricing and setting strategies. This is really important. And I mean, we've seen differences in revenues from properties that don't have it to properties that do of anywhere from 15 to 30%. There are a couple of softwares out there. The big ones are Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, and Price Labs. We use Price Labs. We don't have enough time to get into the details of how this works. But essentially, they're tracking supply and demand of short-term rentals in specific areas and will adjust multiple times a day to really optimize price. Something that is worth considering. Oh, wait, I'm using the wrong keyboard. According to Airbnb, we're seeing that listings that have a weekly discount are seeing a revenue increase of about 6% a year. Those that have monthly discounts are seeing revenue increase of about 5% a year. And pet-friendly units, we're seeing, this is according to Airbnb, they're seeing bookings increase by 6% a year. According to Vrbo, it's actually a lot higher, about 18%. And we actually sent out an email a couple months ago to all our owners, say, hey, like the numbers are here, we should. And it's more difficult to operate with pets, but it's certainly more profitable.
Yeah. What percentage of your guys' portfolio allows pets?
Right now, it's probably about a quarter.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. 30-40%, something like that.
Yeah.
What about your personal properties?
All of my personal properties
Same.
allow pets.
They allow? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. One, you expose your listing to many more, to a higher percentage of people, and then pet fees too. We charge about $75 to $125 for pet fees.
Okay.
So there's additional revenue there.
And some of that pet fee revenue also gets paid to the cleaners because their job is harder and they might have to pick up, dog poo or whatever.
Dog poo, extra dog here to vacuum up. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last thing are best amenities. And this is a question that comes up frequently, or, hey, what are the best amenities? What should I buy for my short-term rental? A hot tub is number one by far, especially in Colorado. You want a hot tub. You can set up a hot tub I just did in one of my units. I bought a pretty decent hot tub and I set it up for probably $6,000 all in. And I will see that return certainly before the end of the year. Fire pits are very popular. Outdoor spaces are very popular. So having furniture, having a barbecue, very fast Wi-Fi, especially post-COVID where people are working remotely, you need to have fast Wi-Fi. People are expecting that. And yeah, shout out to Starlink. We have Starlink on almost all our mountain properties.
Are they legit?
Oh yeah, I pay less than I do.
No, really?
I pay less than my speed is 5 times faster
Than what you pay for
than HughesNet
or
Viasat and
other satellite.
Yeah,
I've used satellite in the past. This was like 10 years ago. It was horrendous.
So
it was like
bad.
dial-up modem
still is
from my
horrendous.
high school days.
Yeah,
it still is bad.
But
And
Starlink is okay.
really good. Actually very good. It's like $120 a month.
$120 a month
For
Wow.
I think a terabyte of data or something
Yes.
like that. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, so
and
you need that. Yeah.
Just to add, I was saying before with the house I showed before with the one I bought with my brother, it has that fire pit in the backyard.
Yeah.
I've looked at the reviews. I'd say about a quarter of the reviews talk about how much people love that fire pit, and it has a gas line going to it. So it was expensive to get that put in, but people really love it.
So 1/4% of your reviews are referencing the fire pit. Wow.
Yeah.
A powerful statement right there.
Goes to show you that fire pits, hot tubs, people are on vacation. They want to be with their families and friends talking.
I want the
hanging out.
fire pit with the hot tub. I want the Christmas lights floating around the trees.
Yeah. The story here is if you're going to do a short-term rental, go all in. Don't half-ass it. You got to go. You put in everything. Beat out your competition.
Oh, especially now.
Especially
As
now.
oversupply.
Yeah, supply is increasing. Like this is where you have to be like your best foot forward.
Got to shine.
It's the only way to do it. Yeah.
So question here from Diana. She says, what are your thoughts on buying short-term rentals in the mountains right now? I know there's a bunch of restrictions, but is there a best place to buy? Summit County, Dillon, Vail, Winter Park. Summit County is a smorgasbord.
Yeah. Well, just going off regulations, Park County has a lot of favorable regulations. You also can get a cheaper property out there. That's a good suggestion. I think, going to Vail, it's so expensive. It would be really hard. It would be hard.
But Summit counties, there's a moratorium currently.
Yeah.
And
I was actually talking to a mountain broker who for your council, Amy Nakos, and she's been there for like 20 years, and she was like, yeah, there are like different zones. She's like, yeah, one zone's like a 18-year wait list or something. Like it was just ridiculous.
Sure.
There were some opportunities up there, but it's complicated. And
well, they're being sued right now. There's actually like a contingent of people like looking to sue the county.
I'm not surprised. Like,
yeah. So yeah, ski towns. We're not so familiar with ski towns. We actually tend to stay away from ski towns. It's just it's very saturated there. But yeah, outside the ski towns, especially 30 to 60 minute drive from ski towns, I think there's some good opportunities there.
Fair play.
Park County, fair play. I would say stick within 2 hours from Denver. I don't even like just managing or setting up a place farther than that could be a challenge.
And so that just depends so much. there's so many more variables up there in the mountains with how close you're to the ski lift and this and that.
Right.
So, but yeah, make sure you really know like all the stuff they talked about in the first bullet point. It's probably even more complex up there mountains. So go back, listen to that first part, and then do your due diligence. And I would really look for like in each of those areas, find an expert in those areas because it's so nuanced. Like, so I've talked to various mountain brokers and investors up there. It's just the difference between counties is just so much more drastic, like Denver and Adams or Denver and Douglas.
And on that note, on mountain properties are so much more complex than city properties. And we actually, for all our mountain properties, we have typically one of us, like I'll stay in the property overnight to learn it and to understand it because it's very nuanced. There's a lot of things that need explaining and we need to include things in the guidebook. So
guest education.
I guess it is more complex.
You can't just leave doors open. A bear could walk into the house. You can't leave trash outside. You got people coming in from New York City. Don't even know. Yeah.
Septic systems, wells.
Yeah. It's tricky, but it could be done.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Oh, sorry. You got the slides now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, we're, man, you nailed it on timing, guys. We're like, I think exactly 60 minutes and 49 seconds. So you guys win that trophy. But this was like a phenomenal webinar and education. So like, thank you guys. We had lots of great questions in the comments. I appreciate all the people out there listening and giving comments on here. So as you guys can tell, like, this is why I like having local experts on here. We're on the Denver Real Estate Investing Podcast. Got Denver Metro residents, investors, property managers. They live, they invest, they manage here. They know the market. They obviously know all the nuances. So I highly recommend you guys reach out to them if you need help with doing managing an Airbnb or questions about there. Reach out to them. We got the QR code, airsimplicity.co. And I think Shalom, you're more the front end, right?
Yeah. So I deal with all acquisitions. And yeah, feel free to call me. I love this stuff. I love talking about it. So if anyone has any questions, yeah, I'm always happy to chat.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm more operationally heavy in the company, running the just day-to-day operations, the teams, and a lot of the back end finance and bookkeeping and all that fun stuff. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to our team. We would not be able to manage 70 properties across 7 distinct geographic regions without them. And yeah, we're just really appreciative of all their hard work. And if you have friends, family coming to Colorado, go to book.airsimplicity.co as in Colorado, and you can get a much better deal there. And
awesome.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to them. Reach out to me if you need help with anything. We're always here to provide you a resource. Got a couple questions here asking if they can get spreadsheets and the video links. Yes, we will send all that out after the recording. And if you're listening to the replay of this, it should be in the show notes. If it's not, email one of us and we'll get you all the information. People out there, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Shalom, Jonathan. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
This was another great webinar. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks,
Chris.